Welcome to DTS PRO Tutorials. This is the landing page of the software, which has options of uploading the patient's extraoral image as well as the retracted intraoral view. On the left is the main menu of the software, which can be minimized if needed. On the top right corner, most screens have a quick tip button that describes the functionality of that particular screen. The top bar has a help menu to guide the user at every stage, right from the photography protocol to different functionalities of the software. There are certain guidelines that need to be followed for shooting images. The extraoral image should be shot in broad or wide smiling position with maximum display of the teeth and a part of the gingiva if possible. There has to be a small interincisal space, that is, there should be a little gap between upper and lower teeth. Here is one more sample extraoral image. An intraoral image should always be shot using retractors. Again, there should be a small interincisal space similar to the extraoral image. A clinical tip that can be followed to maintain similar angulation between extraoral and intraoral image is ask the patient to support a glove box with his or her neck and then shoot the images. For most clinical situations, a single extraoral image is sufficient to carry out the desired simulations. The retracted intraoral image may be uploaded when detailed digital planning is needed. Let us first upload an extraoral image. Once the image has been uploaded, we can proceed to the next step. This takes us to the image editing screen, where we can crop the image, rotate it, or adjust the brightness and contrast of the image. To crop the image, make the desired selection and press the crop button or press the enter key. To undo the changes, press Ctrl Z or the undo button on the screen. If we do not wish to carry out any edits on this screen, we can just press Done and go to the next screen. This takes us to the Smile Area Selection screen. Before getting down to smile selection, let us understand how to zoom and scroll the image. The image can be zoomed in or out by moving the center wheel of the mouse or using the zoom icons on the screen. The image can be scrolled by pressing the center wheel of the mouse and moving it in the desired direction. To select the smile area, just left click and drag from one corner of the mouth to the other. The control points need to be adjusted following the inner contour of the lips. Make sure no part of any tooth extends outside the smile area. In order to add more points, left click anywhere between two control points where the cursor turns plus shaped and adjust as needed. In order to delete points, right click on the point that needs to be deleted. If we are not satisfied with the smile selection, just reset and make a new selection all over again. Once the selection is complete, press Done. This takes us to the extraoral image alignment screen. On this screen, we align the image by selecting the interpupillary line. The two control points should be placed at the center of the pupils. The red center line indicates the facial midline, which can be adjusted if needed. Let us see how to align an intraoral image if we have uploaded one. We place the two control points on the canine or premolar cusp tips. Just follow the occlusal plane and press Done. Once we have completed aligning the images, we now go to the simulation screen. At any point during simulations, we can go back to the previous steps to carry out any necessary changes. We can go back to the Open Image tab and change the image or add another image. The existing image may be edited further if necessary. Any changes to the selected smile area can be carried out. Similarly, any changes to the facial midline can be carried out if needed. We are now on the first simulation screen, the smile editing screen. On this screen, there are three selection tools: the rectangular tool, freehand tool, and the magnetic selection tool. The editing tools include extend tool, cloning tool, mirror tool, and the whitening tool. Let us first see the functionality of the extend tool. The size of the extend tool can be controlled with the size bar on the top menu. The extend tool can be used to push the gingiva or the enamel in any direction. Let us upload one intraoral image to better understand the functioning of the extend tool. We have come back to the Open Image tab. Select an intraoral image. Follow the same steps. So the extend tool can be used to simulate crown lengthening or gingivectomy. It can also be used to simulate enameloplasty. Let us go to the preview section that shows the changes that have been carried out using the extend tool. Let us now see the mirror tool functionality. We have uploaded an intraoral image on which we wish to simulate repair of the fractured tooth by mirroring the right central incisor on the left. The mirror tool basically copies an area, mirrors it, and pastes it wherever required. We can control the size of the mirror tool using the size bar. Generally, we keep the selection size to approximately the width of a single tooth. We first need to select the area that needs to be copied. For example, I am fixing the circle touching the distal edge of the patient's right central incisor. Now press Alt key on the keyboard and left click of the mouse. I repeat, Alt key and left click. Let us now move the selection to the distal aspect of the left central incisor and just left click. As we can see, the right side is getting mirrored and pasted on the patient's left. We can hold the left click and continue moving further. The entire right quadrant is mirrored and getting pasted on the left. And that is the preview for the patient to visualize the proposed changes. Let us see the application of the mirror tool in simulating crowding correction. In this image, we will mirror the patient's left on the patient's right. Let us first use the extend tool and straighten the midline. Select the mirror tool. Control the size of the mirror tool. As discussed, it can be approximately 1 tooth width. I am fixing the edge of the circle at the midline. Press Alt key and left click. Move over to the other side. Just left click and go on moving till the desired area is mirrored. Let us see one more application of the mirror tool in simulating replacement of a missing tooth. Using the extend tool to simulate repair of the fractured tooth. Select the mirror tool. Alt and left click. Move on the other side. Coming back to the smile editing screen, let us see how to use different selection and transformation tools. Let us simulate diastema closure in this instance. We are using the rectangular selection tool to select the entire right quadrant. Right click, select transform and move using the arrow keys. This simulates diastema closure with orthodontic treatment. Using the same rectangular selection tool on the other side, right click, transform and either use the arrow keys to move the selection or we can just click and move the entire left quadrant. This gives a simulation of diastema closure with orthodontic treatment. We can undo the changes and simulate the same diastema closure with additive procedures. Using the rectangular selection tool, instead of selecting the entire group of teeth, we shall just select a part of the tooth. Right click, select transform and expand. This simulates diastema closure with additive procedures such as composite bonding or veneers. In this way, we can carry out different simulations for the same patient. One more example of using the selection and transformation tools. We are using the rectangular selection tool to simulate diastema closure with additive procedures. We can even simulate orthodontic movements such as intrusion, extrusion, or rotation. Whenever simulating intrusion, make sure that the selection always extends beyond the tooth area. Right click, transform, and then intrude or extrude. We are using the extend tool to simulate gingival reshaping. The same extend tool can also be used for enamel reshaping. Let us now see a case of digital smile designing using veneers or crowns. We have uploaded an extraoral image. Selecting the smile area of the patient. Make sure no part of the tooth extends outside the smile area. Aligning the image and marking the facial midline. Let us now navigate to the Laminate Screen. DTS Pro has a library of upper and lower teeth templates. We can select anywhere from a single template, 2, 3, 4 templates, or if we navigate to the name of a particular template, we can select and insert 8 templates in one go. The inserted templates can be adjusted according to the lower lip curve. We can right-click inside the template area and select all the templates to edit the size, shape, and position. We can left-click and select individual templates, which can then be repositioned, resized, or rotated as required. To select multiple templates, press the Ctrl key and then select. The templates can be redesigned using the control points. We can add more control points by left-clicking between two control points. To delete a control point, just right-click over it. If additional templates are needed, right-click and select Duplicate. We can also right-click and mirror horizontally. Make sure that the template outlines fully cover the underlying tooth structure. Once the designs are finalized, press Apply. This fills a default texture to the templates and helps visualize the designs better. As we can see, the mesial margin of the second premolar is visible above the distal of the first premolar. To correct that, start clicking from the distalmost tooth and go on clicking mesially till the midline. Repeat the same on the other side. A part of the underlying tooth structure is visible beyond the template outline, so we can go back in the edit mode and correct it. If the underlying structure is still visible beyond the template outline, press apply, go to the smile editing screen. The designed templates can now be seen on selecting the templates button. We can use the extend tool to shorten the underlying tooth structure. As we can see, the extend tool does not change the template outlines. Going back to the laminate screen. Once the designs have been finalized, we can insert texture in the templates. There are different ways of inserting texture. The first method is using textures from the DTS library. The second method is using the patient's own tooth texture. And the third method is to insert texture from any smile image. Let us first insert sample texture number 1. Press apply, go back, go to the preview screen. We can adjust the brightness and contrast of the inserted texture. Increasing the highlights makes the texture more shiny, whereas reducing the highlights makes it appear slightly dull. At this stage, if needed, we can go back to the laminate screen to carry out any further edits to the template's design. To add more characterization, we can control the lip shadow opacity and the lip shadow size. The texture can be made slightly translucent by reducing the opacity to approximately 95. This helps the designed veneers or the laminates blend with the underlying tooth structure. And we have completed the digital smile designing for the patient using 10 veneers or crowns. Another method of inserting texture is use the patient's own tooth texture. First, select the template and left click and drag on the corresponding tooth and press apply. For example, we are inserting texture from the central incisor on the central incisor template. We can apply the same texture on all templates simultaneously, but it is always better to individually select texture from each tooth and insert it in the corresponding template. Texture from the lateral incisor is applied to the lateral incisor template. We can use texture from the canine on both the premolars. Make sure that while selecting texture from the tooth, the maximum possible area is included. The selection, though, should not extend outside the tooth. Selecting texture from the canine and inserting it to the canine template. On the preview screen, we can adjust the brightness and contrast as required. Whiten the texture. Reducing the opacity makes the texture slightly translucent. This blends the veneers with the underlying tooth structure. In the same way, we can insert texture using any smile image. The same method has to be used, that is, selecting the template and individually inserting texture from the corresponding tooth. In a situation where both upper and lower teeth templates need to be inserted, we should first complete the designing of both the upper and lower teeth templates and then insert texture simultaneously on both the upper and lower templates. Enter the textures mode, applying sample texture first to the upper teeth. Select any single lower template and apply the texture on the lower teeth as well. Let us now see digital treatment planning for lab communication. Enter the edit mode, go to the planning window. We can first add the smile curve. The shape of the smile curve can be edited following the contour of the lower lip. If we need to edit the designed templates, click on any one of the templates and edit them as required. Next tool is the Golden Proportion Guide. This helps us to determine the proportion of the templates according to the golden proportion. Next is the proportion rectangle. This helps us to determine the width to height proportion of the designed templates. We can then use the calibration tool to calibrate measurements. We can measure the width of the central incisor or any other tooth, either directly inside the patient's mouth or on the model. For example, I am entering this value as 10 millimeters. Once the calibration is completed, we can use the measuring tool to carry out different measurements. The digital designs can then be exported either with the image or only in the form of templates, which can be used for lab communication. Let us now see how to carry out instant simulations using smile templates. Selecting the smile area of the patient. For smile templates, we can skip the alignment step. Go to the smile templates screen. DTS Pro has a library of different smile templates. Once a particular template is selected, we need to overlap the same on the patient's smile. We need to select 2 points on the patient's extraoral image. For example, the cusp tips of the canines. We then select 2 similar points on the smile template. Press the check fit button. What we now see is a smile template that has been overlapped on the patient's smile area. We can use the control points to adjust the position of the smile template. We use the opacity slider to check the fit of the smile template on the patient's teeth. In the preview section, we can adjust the brightness and contrast of the smile template as needed. If we wish to change the template, we need to make the selections again. We can use the 2 control points to alter the position of the smile template. Smile templates can also be used in patients with multiple missing teeth or in completely edentulous patients. Let us now see how to carry out extraoral changes. Whenever we are uploading an extraoral profile image, we can upload it in the retracted image section because we will not be selecting the smile area in this case. We can simulate jaw changes after orthodontic surgery as well as lip changes following orthodontic treatment. Use the rectangular select tool. We can select the entire lower jaw along with the lower lip. Right click, select transform and simulate movement of the lower jaw. Similarly, we can simulate movement of the upper jaw. And that is the preview for the patient to appreciate profile changes following orthodontic surgery. We can also simulate lip movements following retraction of teeth. Selecting the lower lip, similarly selecting the upper lip and moving it back. We can use the extend tool to smoothen the edges. We can also simulate lip repositioning. Select the upper lip using the freehand select tool. Make sure to extend the selection beyond the upper lip. Right click, select transform and move the upper lip. Whenever we have uploaded both the extraoral and intraoral images, we need to map the two. On the image mapping screen, we can select two easily identifiable points on the extraoral image. For example, the tip of the papilla. Select two corresponding points on the intraoral image. Go to the check fit screen. Here, we can check the overlapping of extraoral and intraoral images. All the designs can be saved in the form of a project file, which can be edited later if required. This is saved in the form of a DTS project file. All simulated images can be saved in the form of a JPEG or PNG image. The images can be printed or directly emailed to the patients.